Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they pledge you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we are back in May and June of 1984 as we are discussing the last 4 episodes of Season 2 of Fraggle Rock, titled Wembley and the Great Race, Doozer is as Doozer does, Boober's Quiet Day, and the Invasion of the Toe Ticklers. But that's not all. We also watched a clip of Piggy and Kermit on the show, The Funniest Joke I Ever Heard. But before we get talking about those, we have a few things to address here at the top of the show. Sam.
What?
A number of people have pointed out a thing to me that we have, there's been an oversight in our discussions in the past few weeks in the lead up to The Muppets Take Manhattan. We have mentioned a few times, it's so weird that, no one is seeing Kermit and Piggy and they're doing these things and it's da-da-da, and, people haven't seen these characters in, 4 years or whatever since the show ended. Mm-hmm. We forgot about syndication.
Oh.
We forgot
right.
The Muppet Show is still airing regularly for a lot of folks.
That's how TV used to work back then.
Mm-hmm. People would start getting the show later. They weren't watching it in first run. They were watching sort of reruns, but not even, a couple of years later. So, yeah, a lot of people were still watching The Muppet Show, which, you think we would realize because you and I are both people.
Old.
That too. But we both have talked about how we watched Muppet Babies and Fraggle Rock as children.
Yep, which is impossible, really.
Correct. We were not alive in 1984 or 1985 or 1986.
Wow, I never even thought about this. And when I was watching those shows, I was like, brand new show. This is great.
And so that's the experience people were having with The Muppet Show right now, is being able to watch these episodes regularly. So they were super jazzed about seeing Kermit and Piggy on things. It's sort of like Sesame Street, how it's always happening in the background, and because we only talk about it once a season, we kind of forget that it's always still happening, and Jim and Frank are still going and recording those things regularly. And I had this thought, too, during this batch of the Muppet meeting films are also happening in the background this entire time.
I was thinking about that, too, because I think there's a voice that Richard Hunt did where I was like, that's a Muppet Meetings film voice. That is ringing a bell in my head. I don't remember which one it was.
Maybe that's what sparked it for me, too, because there was a moment during this batch that I also suddenly was thinking about the Muppet meeting films. Something that we talked about in episode 21 back in August of 2021.
Yeah, one of our biggest mistakes ever.
Where we decided to watch hours upon hours of industrial meeting films and discuss them.
They were kind of fun.
Some of them were fun, but they, they went from the 60s through the early 90s.
Yeah.
And it's wild to think that, again, those things are just happening in the background while we're watching some Fraggle Rock.
I guess they are busy, aren't they? We're just viewing their lives from a fourth dimensional standpoint in a way.
Or we're even, maybe one-dimensional, narrow,
That's true. Maybe
blinders on sort of thing of just Fraggle Rock is all that exists.
But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can't believe I never even considered that.
Yeah, we had
and I watched Muppet Show on Disney Channel and Nickelodeon all the time.
I think because we, with the format of this show, are so tied to this idea of when things aired and watching things in chronological order, that we don't ever think about the fact of, home video releases or reruns and these things. For instance, we've talked about this a couple times where the U.S. didn't see Emmett Otter for years after the date that we talked about it with, because we talked about it when it first aired ever in Canadian TV, and then it was sold to HBO, whatever, multiple years later. So it's
and there's probably one newspaper article you could read that said this was made 5 years ago in like the whole world. Or otherwise you'd just be like, this must be new. I have no way. Like you could look maybe at the Roman numerals at the end of it and be like, 1972, eh?
So yeah, we had to keep up with basically the TV listings every single week to see what else was airing at that time.
So announcing a new element of commitment.
Nope.
We'll be reading every TV guide. Oh, okay.
I'm going to leave that up to Muppeturgy. They do a really good job of talking about what else was airing the night of the Muppet Show. I'm going to let them handle that aspect of
cool.
Muppet podcasting TV guide reading. But a couple other things I want to talk about before we talk about our Fraggle Rock episodes today. One, I just had to plug our merch again. Let everyone know commitmentstuff.com is where you can go for all your sweet commitment merch needs.
Send us to Disney World for the Christmas extravaganza.
Yeah, Kermit and Piggy are hosting some sort of live musical event. There's not a lot of details out right now, but, obviously we have to go, right?
It's ticketed too, so we have to make our money fast so we can buy the ticket.
Ooh.
And when we go, they'll say, Sam and Matt, get up here. And we'll be like, yeah. We'll be in the front of the parade. We'll be the Grand Marshals.
You're asking for a lot right now. Not only that we sell enough merch to be able to afford to go, but also that we're going to be famous enough by December that Kermit and Piggy will call us up on stage.
Didn't you learn anything about positive visualization from an episode of Fraggle Rock we watched this week?
Yeah.
It's the secret.
It is the secret. But sure, we could say, hey, if you're listening to this, we will be at this performance.
We'll be the Grand Marshals of the parade this day.
Mm-hmm.
Come see us.
They always pick fan podcasters to be Grand Marshals of parades at Disney.
I'm sure less famous people than us have been.
I would be willing to bet that's not true.
Oh, come on. I bet some crossing guard got to be the Grand Marshal once.
From where? Where were they a crossing guard
They saved
at?
a kid. They saved a kid.
I think that makes them immediately more famous and more deserving than us.
More deserving, but not more famous. You can't even remember their name, so,
Yeah, but they don't know our name either. And a couple other plugs for things that aren't ours. I wanted to recommend a recent episode of the Beretta Brothers podcast, which is a podcast of, friend of the podcast, Bill Beretta, and his brother, Gene Beretta.
That's a big claim, I think.
Hey, he was on the podcast. So I think maybe acquaintance of the podcast. Contractually obligated appearer on the podcast.
Did you sign a contract for that?
No, but I'm sure he did with Disney.
Oh, that's true.
But he and his brother do host this podcast called the Beretta Brothers. I think it's fair to say an infrequent podcast, but when they pull out all the stops, they make some great episodes about the Muppets. And this recent one was no different because it was a 50th anniversary celebration for Dave Goelz and his time with the Muppets. It is over 3 hours long, so I haven't even watched the whole thing yet. But I will say, if you have ever heard a name spoken on this podcast and they are still alive, they appeared in this thing. So many people who have worked with the Muppets, who maybe some you didn't even realize were still alive, appear during this 3 hours. To be fair, it's true. There are people who worked on the Muppet Show 50 years ago who we haven't done any more research on. All we know is their name comes up in the credits. They were there. Everyone's celebrating Dave Goelz, a very worthy cause, and it was just amazing to see how many people showed up for this thing.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes our show pushes 3 hours, and we don't have anybody on it. So.
Yeah, that's just us. Wow. Yeah. Clearly, we are using our time differently than the Beretta brothers are.
That's true.
And the last little thing I wanted to plug before we get into talking about Fraggle Rock today is that our friends over at Tough Pigs recently started a new podcast about the Muppets Mayhem. It's called the Muppets Mayhem Backstage Pass, and they are doing an episode-by-episode breakdown of the Muppets Mayhem with people who worked on the show. So if you, wanted to get more in-depth conversations than we were able to do in our episode, you can go over there and listen to that. Well then, Sam, it's time to ask the age-old question. What did we watch this week?
First up, airing May 21st, 1984, Wembley and the Great Race. Wembley's been training with Red to compete in the Rock Beetle race, and he's doing pretty good, but Wembley is still pretty sure that he's not good enough to beat his best bud, Gobo. Red is disgusted with this attitude and tells Wembley to just visualize himself winning and do his best. Wembley takes her advice, and he wins, but in winning, he hurts Gobo's pride. Gobo sort of lashes out and says that it was just beginner's luck, to which Red proposes another race to prove who is actually the best racer. Wembley doesn't want to endanger their friendship, but both Red and Gobo say that he has to race or else they'll be pissed at him, so he does. But Wembley throws the race, and Red sees him do it, and as Gobo is gloating about his victory, Red tells him that Wembley lost on purpose, so they have to have another race. And Wembley tries to get out of this one again, and again, Gobo and Red tell him that he has to race or their friendship is over. Wembley gets pissed and decides that he'll run, but not to make either of them happy. This time, Wembley is running for Wembley. And he wins again. He prepares for Gobo to tell him that they can't be friends anymore, but Gobo just tells him that he's proud of him, and that's pretty much it. Up in outer space, Ned Schimmelfinney tells Doc that Sprocket is ugly and sucks, so Doc decides to enter Sprocket in a dog show, but then he doesn't for some reason, and I think I kind of missed why he didn't. And then he calls Ned and says, hey, I don't need to enter him in a dog show.
Yeah, he
He's
calls
my
to
boy.
Admit to defeat, essentially.
Mm-hmm. So the moral, a little friendly. This one I'm not really sure about. I think it's like a little friendly competition, never hurt anybody, and also don't do things for other people's sake. Would you say that's about right?
Yeah, I think don't do things because other people expect them of you is probably the moral. Or I guess don't do things because your friend called you to talk about how shitty your dog looks. I don't really know why Ned was calling, but it did just seem like they were on the phone talking about how shitty Sprocket looks.
Yeah, your dog is so ugly. It's like your mama jokes, except it's your dog jokes. That same day, a special called The Funniest Joke I Ever Heard aired on ABC. One segment that seems like it's like a reoccurring segment throughout the show featured Miss Piggy trying to tell a joke and Kermit correcting her until they start screaming at each other and storm off. Then we watched another Fraggle Rock episode, Doozer Is As Doozer Does. Original air date May 28th, 1984. The Doozers are all in a tizzy because a worker trying to repair the supports under the Doozer Dome got the hiccups and messed some stuff up. Hiccups, like a lot of other stuff in Doozerland, are very taboo, as they basically make Doozers act really drunk, and they can give themselves the hiccups by bouncing up and down. Meanwhile, Wrench Doozer is working on the hottest tower building team in Fraggle Rock, Tower Team F, led by the super cool, super tough Turbo. Tower Team F is selected to fix the Doozer Dome supports and are dubbed Support Squad A. Support Squad A thinks that they're hot shit, and after seeing Wembley hop up and down on a pogo stick, they decide to build pogo sticks of their own and bounce around in spite of the severe chance of getting hiccups and endangering their careers. Wrench is peer pressured into bouncing too, and he gets the hiccups real bad. He crawls away in shame and decides that he needs to get the other guys to stop pogoing. Instead, they kick him out of Support Squad A. The day that they're scheduled to start working, all of Support Squad A is super drunk off their asses from pogo sticking too much, but they go down in the hole anyway. Wrench sneaks down to make sure that they're okay, but they aren't, and Turbo knocks a whole Doozer tower onto himself. Wrench alerts the architect Doozer, and Turbo is saved. Support Squad A fesses up that they had the hiccups from bouncing, and Turbo apologizes to Wrench for pressuring him. Meanwhile, up in outer space, Doc wants to get a job at Miss Ardath's new hotel as the handyman, so he gets all spiffed up.
No, the manager.
Oh, the manager. But he has to do some light plumbing as well, right?
Trying to remember there if he thought she wanted him to do plumbing or if he thought... It's a little confusing.
So he gets spiffed up and goes over there and has a job interview, and Miss Ardath says that he looks too clean and he acts too nice and he probably doesn't even know how to do plumbing.
Yeah,
right?
So I guess as the manager of this place, you are sort of the caretaker as well.
Right. So, but then Doc mopes around for a while and gets all disheveled, and then he goes back over and yells at Miss Ardath, who decides that he's perfectly nasty enough to be the manager and do all the plumbing for her now. The moral, don't try to change yourself to fit in, and also don't do drugs. Very important 80s moral. Nancy Reagan would pop up and say, come on, guys, let's not do drugs.
Yeah, Wrench Doozer at one point literally says the words, just because everyone else is doing something doesn't mean you have to do it.
That's right. Next up, Boober's Quiet Day, airing June 4th, 1984. Boober is looking forward to a nice, quiet day at home, but it's too quiet and he falls asleep. Side bottom, Boober's fun side that he keeps hidden away hitches a ride out of Boober's subconscious and into his waking life with the intent of starting a little ruckus and having a little fun. Soon, a Fraggle comes by to ask Boober to pet sit for her as she goes to see the fortune-telling Fraggle who's come to town. And Boober does something very un-Boober-like in order to preserve his quiet day. Under the influence of Sidebottom, he lies to this Fraggle and says he can't watch her pet because he's going to go on an overnight trip to collect some new bleach nuts. That Fraggle he lied to then runs into Moki and mentions that Boober was going on a trip, and Moki asks him to bring her back some supplies to make ink while he's on his trip. So now Boober has to actually go on the trip. Except then he runs into the storyteller who just gives him some ink or tells him where to get ink instead. So then he doesn't have to go on the trip. But then Red comes to his house and asks if she can stay at his house while he's gone so that she can get away from Moki for a little bit. So now that he does have to go on the trip, except that he tells Red that the fortune teller Fraggle is staying at his house, but then he overhears Wembley and Gobo planning a surprise party for the fortune teller in Boober's cave. So now Boober has to pretend to be the fortune teller, I guess, at least according to Sidebottom. So Sidebottom zaps him and turns him into the fortune teller, and the party happens, and Boober reads some fortunes and sings some songs until the real fortune teller shows up, and Boober reveals his sham to all of his friends. They ask him why he lied, and he tells them that he just wanted some peace and quiet, which they all respect and leave him alone. Once alone, Boober admits to Sidebottom that he actually had a lot of fun being goofy and tricking his friends, and agrees once again to let Sidebottom out a little bit more often. Meanwhile, up in outer space, Sprocket is at the vet for the day, and Doc is looking forward to some peace of his own, but he just misses his little bud too much. So just as he's about to call the vet to talk to Sprocket to see how he's doing, the phone rings, and Sprocket has called to talk to him first. Is very cute. The moral: lies can get out of control fast, and being alone isn't all it's cracked up to be. But also the submoral is sometimes it's kind of fun to lie and do little tricks. Next, we watch The Invasion of the Toe Ticklers, airing June 11th, 1984. Moki is out in the gourd garden chilling when she finds a little caterpillar friend. It tickles her toes, so she dubs it a toe tickler and names it Agnes. She then overhears Ma Gorg telling Junior that the toe ticklers are pests and they always eat the little white flowers that Ma loves a lot. So she gives Junior a can of poison and says to spray any of the toe ticklers that he sees. So this disgusts Moki a lot, and she brings Agnes to Fraggle Rock to keep Agnes safe. So at first this is okay, but eventually a swarm of toe ticklers follow after Agnes, and they start tickling all the Fraggles and eating everything and knocking over Doozer towers and stuff. After a while, Gobo has enough of this and executes a plan to lead all the toe ticklers to a cave and seal them in. This also disgusts Moki, so she tries to free them, but ends up causing a rock slide and getting stuck in the cave too. Once in the cave, she discovers that the toe ticklers have wrapped themselves up in cocoons. Meanwhile, the white flowers that Ma loves so much have grown into big stinky weeds without the toe ticklers keeping them at bay. Back in the cave, Moki waits for the sweet release of death, but the toe ticklers hatch, having transformed into floating jellyfish creatures. Agnes, now a jellyfish, recognizes Moki and floats her out of the hole in the top of the cave, and the transformed toe ticklers then descend on Ma's garden and eat all of the stinky weeds, and the balance of nature is restored. Meanwhile, up in outer space, Sprocket finds a fossil at a nearby excavation site where a gas main is being put in. So Doc kind of overreacts a little bit, and he alerts some scientists or something and has the whole site shut down. But then Mrs. Ardath is sad because her hotel won't have any heat without the gas line, so then Doc has the gas line rerouted, but has to destroy Sprocket's doghouse in the process. In the dual interest of horniness and science, Doc does all of this. The moral: nature and society are delicate machines, and one little change can mess up everything.
Well, there was a bunch of other stuff happening in the Muppet world during this time, and I'm actually going to extend what we're talking about timeline-wise, because the next thing we talk about chronologically will be Muppet Babies, which is September of 1984. So I'm about to cover May to September of 1984, excluding the things that we talked about in our Muppets Take Manhattan episode.
Okay, gotcha.
So there were some July things we previously covered, so this will be between May and September, excluding the July things. It makes sense in my head. So May 27th, 1984, on Jim's Red Book, Jim wrote in his journal, in Washington for ABA. This was the annual trade show for the American Booksellers Association. And the publishing department, known by its acronym HOP, Henson Organization Publishing, was marketing books that featured Muppets, Dark Crystal, Muppet Babies, and also Muppet Magazine. But notably, this is when they started the very successful Fraggle Rock storybooks, which was one of the things I had as a kid, because my name is Matt, and I was an uncle. and they gave me the book about Uncle Matt. Then on June 2nd and 3rd, 1984, Jim wrote Toronto recording Muppet Show on Tour. So this is for each version of the Muppet Show on Tour show and the Sesame Street tours that they would do, Jim and all the other folks would record the scripts for the full body suit performers to skate and dance to. This one I think is notable because Jim's Red Book, the website, likes to add in little stories underneath some of these entries that aren't always directly tied to this instance, but are like, well, we got to put this somewhere. So for this one, it talked about how doing these live shows tied Jim to Charles Schulz, the creator of Peanuts. Oh. Apparently, Jim was a big fan of Charles Schulz, and the performer who played Ernie in Sesame Street Live was Judy Sladkey, and she also performed on ice as Snoopy in the Peanuts ice shows.
Wow.
So apparently, somehow, this makes sense back then, through Judy, Jim and Charles Schulz sent greetings back and forth, although they never met.
What the hell?
Yeah, they just were like, hey, let's get this performer of ours to send me, greetings back and forth when we both have phones, presumably. Then on June 18, 1984, Jim wrote, Meet David Bowie in New York. So the info here comes from Brian J. Jones's biography of Jim Henson. Apparently, Jim wanted to cast Sting of the Police as the main guy, the Goblin King in Labyrinth. But his sons, Brian and John, argued for David Bowie. John said specifically that Sting was happening now, whereas David Bowie is an artist. He's got longevity.
That's not 100% right, I guess.
No,
Sting's
famously, Sting, known for his longevity.
Wait, what does that mean?
The old
Is this a sex
It's
thing?
a tantric sex joke. Yes, it is.
Oh, he does tantric sex?
Did you not know that about Sting? It's like the only thing I know about Sting.
No, but I'm Googling.
You Googling Sting tantric sex right now?
Uh-huh.
All right.
7-hour tantric sex.
Good job, Sting.
It is, quote, according to him, quote, very healthy.
That makes it sound like somebody came up to him like, are you okay? But Sting's sex life aside, Jim decided he did want to talk to David Bowie. So he met with Bowie in New York and brought him some of Brian Froud's drawings and the first draft of the script, along with a videotape of The Dark Crystal to be like, you like this stuff? At this time, David Bowie was interested but did not actually sign on until the following February after the script had gone through a few more rewrites. So he was sort of like, yeah, I'm interested, but I'm going to not say yes until you guys figure out what you're doing.
Right.
Then June 20th and 21st, 1984, it says VTR, 3 home video wraparounds. And so this entry is just about Jim recording some wraparound segments for home video, which was like Best of the Muppet Show, Best of Fraggle Rock kind of things.
Uh-huh.
But Jim's Red Book added in some interesting notes here talking about how Jim, whether this is something he actually wanted to do or sent a funny memo, it's not entirely clear.
Mm-hmm.
But because of doing these wraparounds, Jim said that he wanted to create some original programming specifically aimed at the home viewer. So I'm about to say some wild things.
Okay.
Apparently, Jim circulated a memo that was headed with, quote, Pet Home Video, Part 1, Dog TV, and said, Pet Home Video is an incredibly silly idea, and I'm determined to do it. It'll be 12 minutes long, and each segment will be less than 60 seconds. It's all intended to be remarkably funny and dumb. It will look like the project of a sincere group that has no funding, a down and dirty production. Apparently, each show would include regular segments with dog training, dog warnings, and dog pep talks. Some episodes would include canine fashion shows or soap operas. Dog sports like frisbee and water polo and great moments in dog history would be highlighted. Yes, these are home videos for dogs.
Okay, so it's intended for your dog to watch this.
Yes, it's dog TV for dogs.
And learn about dog history.
Or at least enjoy dog history. You know, not everyone watches the History Channel, but some dogs might.
That's true.
He apparently also saw home entertainment potential for other housebound audiences, including cats and houseplants, because they can't walk away from the television set.
What's he talking about?
I don't know. It ends with, in the end, Jim didn't produce these videos. So I have no idea if Jim was just sending this out as a joke. I would hope so. But, maybe Jim was like, what if we made houseplant videos? That seems like a good market to use our money on.
And then some poor person gets that memo and they're like, oh, what? Now I have to do this.
This is my job now. I have to figure out programming for a plant. August 1984, Jim writes, Cheryl is working on Labyrinth. And then August 15th, 1984,
Cheryl's fired. From Labyrinth.
No, but on that note, I was rereading some of Brian J. Jones's biography again, and we had talked about whether or not Brian Henson actually finished school or kept working with Faz Fazakis on Muppet stuff, and it seems like he did quit school and went to work for Muppet stuff full time and on non-Muppet projects as well. But yes, we had theorized whether or not he had stayed in school, and it turns out he did not. August 15th, 1984, Jim wrote Meet George Lucas in San Rafael. So presumably talking about Labyrinth, because George would be a producer on that. And then throughout August, he writes more about traveling to Dresden and Edinburgh with Cheryl as well, going to the Puppet Festival in Dresden, and then when he was in Edinburgh, working on the rewrites for the Labyrinth script. So him and Cheryl doing a lot of traveling and a lot of working together right now, gearing up for Labyrinth. September 7th, 1984, he writes, He Ho Hit Meeting and Boat Party on the Thames.
What is that?
So back when Jim set up his company, he called it Henson Associates because he could spell it as ha on his official letterhead. And when he had some stationery designed, when you would fold the letter up, it would say ha ha when you folded it, like a Mad Magazine fold thing, it seemed like. And he liked this, but guess who didn't? Jim's lawyer, who was like, hey, can I have some stationery that doesn't say ha ha? Because I have to send out cease and desist letters and business proposals, and I don't want somebody to get a negative thing from me that says ha ha on it. But what he's talking about here is he, ho, and hit, because Jim didn't want to just have one company named an acronym that he thought was funny. He had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different companies.
Why?
Great question. So he had He, which is Henson Enterprises, HEP, Henson Electronic Products, Hi, Henson International, Ho, Henson Organization, HIT, Henson International Television, HOP, Henson Organization Publishing, and HUM, Henson Universal Music. So this note from Jim was about meeting with He, Ho, and Hit in 1984, which basically meant the London team was getting together to talk about business. But yeah, a wild thing to try and keep track of, I'm sure, for anyone actually doing business in Jim's organization.
Yeah, what the hell?
And lastly, Jim wrote September 11th, 1984, in Chicago for opening of the Muppet Show on Tour Live. So yeah, the Henson team did 2 different 90-minute extravaganzas, as Jim's Red Book calls them. The first one in 1984, and the second in 1985 and 1986. And they were basically just loosely strung together production numbers from things like The Muppet Show and The Muppet Movie, where, Kermit sings Rainbow Connection. How do we get to that? I don't know, we'll figure it out.
Were these full-body Muppet things?
Yeah, these are the full-body Muppets dancing around. The second one, which was in 1985, 1986, would feature some Muppet babies who also go on to have their own live show. But this was subtitled A Better Show for a Better America, because Sam Eagle was obviously involved, and had a finale called A Salute to America.
Hey.
This show did not just go to America, though. It also went to Canada. And so there's a review from the Toronto Globe who gave a rave review despite calling the closing number, quote, slightly inappropriate, but said that the Muppets went on to get around the problem of bruising Canadians' national pride by having most of the cast carry Canadian flags around the stage while Miss Piggy rises to heights dressed as the Statue of Liberty.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, the only things we will have to take a look at from that are some commercials they put out for the live shows. I don't know that there's any full, recordings or scenes of those live shows available for us to watch, but I know we will watch the commercials during a future catch-up episode.
I wonder if that shares any DNA with Muppet Vision, though, because that's what happens at the end. It's a salute to all countries, but mostly America, and Miss Piggy is rising up in the air as the Statue of Liberty.
They probably took some ideas from it. But now it's time to talk about Fraggle Rock. Sam, I do want to ask, before we get into talking specifically about the episodes, what did you think of this batch as the end of Season 2 of Fraggle Rock?
I thought this was kind of it was a batch of all good but unremarkable episodes, I think, was my takeaway.
Yeah, I would even say mid to bad in my...
Oh, interesting.
I did not love this batch of episodes, and I think it's a really weak batch to end a season on that we enjoyed a lot of.
I can see why maybe they thought the last episode would make an interesting season finale, because it is kind of a big concept, but it's just I don't know. It's so straight. They're all very straightforward.
Well, but they're also very strange and some high concept, but also it just feels like something is off with all of these episodes.
I feel like the race, like there couldn't be a less strange episode than the racing one, though, right? Like that's so.
No, but I feel like it's also not doing enough.
Right. It repeats the same plot beat twice, basically.
Yes. I feel
where
like
Wembley's like, I don't want to do it. And they're like, you better do it. And he's like, fine, I'll do it.
It feels like some first draft territory, maybe, of just like, okay, that's it? That's the whole episode? All right.
Right.
And I miss the Trash Heap and Philo and Gunge when they're not around.
Yeah, even the Gorgs aren't really in it very much either.
And depending on how they're used, sometimes I really like having the Gorgs around.
Yeah.
And I just have a really hard time caring about Doc when he's not affecting Fraggle Rock at all.
I actually liked Doc better than I liked most of the rest of the stuff in these episodes.
I guess I will say I don't mind Doc in the moments, but because we get 3 really short Doc segments per episode and they don't matter, it's wild to me that that's the concept they stuck with for so long throughout the show of just like, yeah, this guy's doing stuff and has nothing to do with Fraggle Rock.
It doesn't matter at all.
No. So yeah, I think this episode, I put in my notes, mediocre episode. I wish it was more about Boober's gambling.
I wish that too. I really thought that's where it was going to go. Because Boober's like, yeah, he seems like it's time for him to have something he gets really obsessed with. He never gets obsessed with nothing.
No.
He's just so even-keeled. But yeah, to be like the original Sin Fraggle who's like accidentally invents gambling.
Mm-hmm.
That was such a great open door, especially for like such a boring plot otherwise.
Yeah.
To have it focus on that. And then in the background, it could be like Wembley being a little freaked out. But yeah.
Well, like Boober could become a bookie and like has a whole betting thing coming, like starting, and then Moki has to like be like, "Hey, dude, whoa, we need to talk about this."
He's so organized too. He'd be the only one who'd be any good at it. He wouldn't eat all the radishes like all the rest of them would.
But what we're talking about is the May 21st, 1984 episode, Wembley and the Great Race, written by Robert Sandler and directed by George Bloomfield. Robert Sandler.
Adam Sandler's brother.
I don't think that's true.
Oh, okay.
But I also don't know for sure, so sure. But yeah, I like the songs in this episode. Or I guess I like song in this episode. I don't love other song in this episode. But overall, I just felt like the plot was a little weak and not quite as deep as they tend to go.
Yeah.
It just felt like everything happened too fast for any real emotions to be at stake.
It seemed pretty early on, you could tell that Gobo didn't care, really. Gobo was like being a dick, but it was also like, Gobo's not really going to care that. What's he going to do? Like, maybe if he had cared a lot more and it really had been like Gobo had like gone over the edge and been like, you can't beat me. I'm going to keep training or something. But nothing really happened to anybody. They were all just like, nah, okay.
Yeah, maybe a Wembley versus Red plot would have been more interesting, to have super competitive Red be the one that Wembley is beating. And like their friendship is already tenuous at best, I think, or at least comes across that way, where maybe Wembley could realistically believe that, and the audience might realistically believe that Red is done with Wembley. Like she does not want Wembley to be beating her or anyone to be beating her. Whereas like Gobo and Wembley's friendship seems so strong that the idea of Gobo stopping being friends with Wembley does not feel real to me. And they
I think that would have been way better. I think you're right. Especially since Red is like more and more the sports one and Gobo is more and more the explorer one.
Right. Like we get the gist of like Gobo's good at everything pretty much. He's the default great Fraggle. But in this, they sort of just take Red out of the equation by saying that she sprained her tail training for this race. And so now she has to train Wembley to replace her.
Yeah.
And there's not even a lot. Again, there's little snippets of her being sort of obsessive about him winning.
Right.
But that's not the whole crux of the episode.
Yeah. And if it had been like the Simpsons episode where Bart breaks his leg and everybody's swimming, you know that one?
Yeah.
Or his arm or whatever. If she had gone a little bit off the deep end more of being like really living vicariously through.
Right.
Instead of both of them being like that, if Gobo had been like, I don't care, but Red had been like, you better care.
Right.
We're
going to race again. And he's like, I'm good though. I'm fine with Wembley winning. And she's like, no, you're competitive. Like you will race again. Yeah. It just feels like, again, and I think I don't want to like pick it apart too much, but it just feels like something's missing, or there's a few good ideas that are sort of buried beneath some chaos.
It is really a shame to waste a gambling subplot on this episode,
Right?
though.
Well, and even whenever we have World's Oldest Fraggle around, I like him. I like the idea of adding to the lore of the Fraggles with the sports they play and the weird rules they have to do. But the problem is you have like 3 different rule-based lore.
That was really weird, too, that the races were all different. And the puppetry was really cool.
Yeah.
And when they were like running, I don't even really know how they did that. I guess they just had them on a string or something.
I mean, probably some blue screen, maybe. It was also slow motion. So there's a chance you can do something just like fast. And then it's like you slow it down. It's going to look maybe a little bit more convincing. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. But like swinging on the vine was really cool too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there was some cool stuff. It just was kind of like a mishmash.
I do enjoy in this episode, Gobo and Wembley have a nice little stretching scene before their race. And the puppetry on their stretching motions is very good.
I like when you can see their legs.
You get a lot of that in this batch of episodes, especially the Toe Ticklers episode is a feet frenzy.
And the first song they sing is incredibly cute when they sing about being bestest friends
Friends
forever.
Till the End, a song that my wife said we should cover as a Patreon perk.
Oh, that would be cute, except I can't sing at all.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's only for Patreon.
That was like a great Gobo Wembley moment. Except they're both wearing such weird outfits that it was kind of like...
Also, Gobo is wearing an outfit we've seen multiple times, which is like his sleeveless, rolled up, like striped shirt that he apparently wears all the time underneath his vest.
Yeah, right.
Wembley, on the other hand, has a tank top version of his normal banana tree shirt.
It's his workout clothes, yeah.
I love the idea of having various forms of clothing, but all the same pattern.
It's his brand, you know?
I could see him in some like cute button-up pajamas that also have banana trees all over them.
He's the best Fraggle with the banana shirt or something like that. Or he has remember he won that award that was like best banana leaf shirt.
Yeah.
So he's got to have it on all the time. I think it's funny that they don't, like, when the Fraggle has an outfit on in this show, they never change their outfit. Like, in between scenes, they're not like, it would make more sense for him to have this regular shirt on.
Right.
So let's just put his regular shirt on. Or, like, there's a flashback where Gobo is still wearing his tank top, even though it's, like, or not a flashback, a dream sequence, where Gobo's moving out and he's still wearing his tank top. It's like... Come on. This would happen weeks later. He put his cardigan back on.
They just toss some random hats on him occasionally. They're like, here you go. Now he's different.
They're like, oh, do I really have to put his cardigan on? I don't think I'm going to do it.
Well, we get to meet Rumple Fraggle, who is the one who's cheering for Gobo. And Boober is convinced that, I don't think Gobo's going to win.
He invents betting in front of our very eyes.
But I do like Rumple. He has little aviator goggles on top of his head, which is cute.
He seems to get his fingers broken later, which at first when he walked, he like gets hurt in the gourd garden. And at first I was like, oh, somebody smashed him up because he didn't have enough radishes.
I thought there was like a Fraggle mob who was like, oh, he didn't pay up. We had to break some legs.
Or it's like side bottom, like Boober lets side bottom.
Yeah, Boober's like, I don't know what happened.
What do you mean what happened to me? You did it.
I saw you. You had a baseball bat and tried to drown me in your laundry. But the race begins and Wembley wins that race. And this is when Gobo is extremely upset.
He's like leaning
against
on
a rock
like,
with his head on his hand, being like, I can't believe I
so
lost.
Stupid. Yeah.
So he challenges Wembley again, very insistent that they must race again.
I love the character arc of like characters like Ross and Friends and like Gobo, where they start off the show and they're like the lead one, and then quickly all the people writing the show are like, this guy sucks. We are gonna make this guy suck as much as possible.
Yeah, we need a neutral guy who sucks.
Yeah, it's a very important part of the sitcom thing is that there's a guy who's like, you didn't beat me, that was beginner's luck. Who's just like the worst friend of all of them.
And again, I could see that almost coming more naturally from someone like Red.
Yeah.
Like the idea of Red losing an athletic competition. Right. She would assume someone cheated or something must be wrong, or she would make up an excuse for the reason she lost. Versus like Gobo sort of threatening his friend here was sort of unsettling. But during the next race is when we hear the next song, which is just called Front and Back Patter Song. Turn around now.
Sounds like you got hit in the head with a coconut. This is the song you hated? You hated this song?
It's just so chaotic. There's so much happening. They're singing, they're yelling at each other, the directions, he's messing up the directions, and it's just so much happening that I kind of glazed over.
Do you know why? So I'm up at Wiki. In the last bunch of episodes, it said the lyrics for this song were written by Tim Wynne Jones instead of Dennis Lee. Do you know where Dennis Lee was in this chunk of time?
I don't, because there's other episodes in this batch too where it says like PB Nickel wrote the lyrics for this one and not Dennis Lee.
Yeah.
And so I don't actually know. I know, he was a poet and quite famous, so maybe he just had some other obligations at that time. So I don't actually know. We see Rumpel showing up more and more beat up throughout the episode, presumably just getting thumped by Gorgs every time he needs to go and get the radishes to pay back Boober. And so finally Boober says, you know what? If Gobo wins the last race, you win. And if Wembley wins, I lose. Yes. Setting Rumpel up for success here.
That classic trick.
Yeah. Thankfully, Rumpel understands odds, but doesn't understand very simple trickery.
Words? Yeah.
Throughout this, Moki also keeps checking in with Boober, being like, Boober, are you betting again? But it seems to be more about concern for Rumpel's health as opposed to the concern for Boober actually betting.
Yeah, this is like another way where the episode tries to have it a bunch of different ways at once where, what is she worried about here exactly?
Yeah. And that was really the thread that I was hoping they would go down and like pull at that and be like, oh, let's get more into this Boober gambling thing.
Yeah, get Boober like going to like Wembley's house and being like, all right, kid, I got something that's going to juice you up. Take a big whiff of this. Take a big whiff of this.
Here, huff this bleach nut, Wembley.
Bleach nut. Yeah, you're going to go crazy.
Well, instead we have Wembley pretending to be sick to try and get out of the race. Doesn't work. Everyone is on to his ruse. And they do finally go race. Slow motion, Chariots of Fire style. We get full body running Fraggles, jumping on vines. We get a lot of slow-mo feet shots. And Wembley wins. Somehow.
I mean, he's just better at running, I guess.
I guess so. But Gobo, he wouldn't lose a friend over this, and so he just is like, yeah,
the whole time
fine.
he wasn't going to ever lose a friend over this.
Right. He had no problem with Wembley winning, really. He just wanted to make sure, I guess, that Wembley was actually a better racer than him.
So that's all that happens in
that's
one. And I gave it 3 stars, and I wrote, perfectly serviceable episode. It's just like a filler episode. It's like when like in an anime when they go to the beach, you know?
I think I was going into this maybe with too high of expectations because it was the end of the season. I was like, oh, they saved all the bangers for the end of the season, and they didn't.
I wonder if they even thought that. Like, they must not have thought that way.
I guess
they don't have cliffhangers or anything like that. I wonder how common that even was in like a lot of TV back then.
Well, and there's no big advancement in any plot lines. Like, we don't get any new relationships between the Doozers and the Fraggles or the Gorgs or anything happening in this batch of episodes. So it's not even like they were going out trying to be like, okay, how do we end Season 2 of Fraggle Rock? What do we want to set up for the next season, everyone?
We're just gonna do more puppets next year? Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Sounds good. Well, next up in our watching on May 21st, same night, is the funniest joke I ever heard. And this was a pair, this was the pair of specials that they did, produced by Dick Clark. And pretty much we just get Kermit and Piggy arguing about a joke that's about a boat that hit an iceberg and sank, and 3 people swam to an island. But we don't get much more than that because they cannot decide what the actual words of the joke are.
Well, Kermit knows he just won't tell the joke.
Yes. And this is maybe the most, like the closest I feel like we've seen Kermit and Piggy be to Jim and Frank.
Oh, yeah. I think
like
that's
even the
totally
voices feel a little bit like we're doing this in one take. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this joke special. So it sounds even like they're a little bit closer to Jim and Frank in voice.
I think in that respect, it also felt like the closest we've seen to them being like a real couple in a way.
Right.
Where it was like they're a little bit more peers, or like their mutual frustration with each other in this situation is like relatable, because it's like somebody like Rachel's like, oh, tell this story. And it's like, no, that story's stupid. I don't want to tell that story. And then she's like, well, fine, I'll tell the story. And then it's like, this is not how the story went. I don't know how you perceived reality this way, but
my parents are very much that way, of the like, one will start telling a story and the other one will start filling in details. And then it's like, okay, you're both telling the same story at one time, but you're saying some different things. And then one will start going off on a tangent while the other one is trying to finish this story. And I'm like, oh, no. We can't let this happen.
Or one will just get distracted and like
wander away.
day and start being like, would you like something to eat? Would you like to drink some water?
I'd like to hear the end of that story.
What happened? What happened to you guys? So that all that is to say, I actually really liked this little part.
I like it too. I think especially it would have worked well in the middle of other celebrity segments telling jokes. Like I think cutting back to Kermit and Piggy arguing over how to tell this joke properly would work really well in that context. And I when I say it's close to Jim and Frank, that is not a negative. That is a positive, that it feels like they're both having a lot of fun performing this sketch.
Yeah, and it's Kermit actually like improving well for once too.
Well, the next episode of Fraggle Rock we've got to discuss here is from May 28th, 1984. It's called Doozer Is As Doozer Does, written by Jocelyn Stevenson and directed by Eric Till. And I wrote, what the hell is going on?
Why? What was wrong with
this episode frustrated me.
Oh, okay.
Because I had to hear two words way too many times.
Flooping?
That's one of them.
And
Rev.
The Rev thing was really annoying.
It felt like they were trying to make two things happen in this episode with the Doozers.
That's true.
And their tactic was just, well, what if we just kept saying it until you accepted that these are words?
So Rev is how these are like cool, like greaser, like grease doozers.
Yes.
So they have a song that's like Grease Lightning kind of, except so it's like a 50s kind of like, I don't even know what it's like Grease. I don't even know what Grease is going for exactly. But and the word they keep saying is rev, like revving an engine.
Yeah, I guess.
And that means cool. But my problem with it is that they don't like really lay out what the word is. So for a long time, you're just like, what are they saying?
Gotta be rev.
Yeah.
You gotta think rev. Like, you gotta live rev. You gotta eat rev. It's like, who's rev?
And you're just trying to like figure out exactly what word they're saying for too long when, you know, they could have just not done that. They could have just said cool. You gotta be cool, guy.
Felt like Riz to me.
Ugh, Riz. Kids and their new words.
Kids and their Riz. Back in my day, it was Rev.
Yeah, what about cringe? Are we all done with cringe and now it's Riz?
Well, Riz is positive.
It's the opposite of cringe, huh?
I guess so. We're too old to know.
No.
They won't let us. We try to ask and they say no. I see gray hair on that head. Get out of here.
They call the police. I think I would die if I said Riz in front of a teen. I think my heart would just pop and just don't collapse in a pile.
I think if you genuinely like tried to say during an episode of like, ooh, Kermit's got the Riz, I'd be like, what? We have to stop the podcast.
That's not true. Well, which Muppet is the most Rizzed up?
Gonzo, right?
Is it?
No, it is Kermit,
Gonzo's?
actually.
Yeah,
Fuck, it's
he's
Kermit.
he's always on the make. Is that something kids say too, on the make?
I don't. If so, I've never heard that one.
I think it's Dr. Teeth. He's pretty good.
No, but as far as like success rate goes,
yes, Kermit definitely.
Yeah, I think he has the most success with human women, at least.
It seems to be the case. And Miss Piggy has a lot of success with human men.
Oh man,
can women be rizzed up?
I think so.
Is that a thing?
Again, Sam, you're asking a man who is older than you by 10 days.
Here's a Reddit question. Can women have, quote, riz?
I assume yes. It just is short for charisma.
It's short for, that's exactly what the first one says. Women can have riz.
Okay.
Anybody can have riz.
So Miss Piggy and
Dog
Kermit
or cat
both got
could
the
have
riz.
You know?
Pigs? Frogs?
Of course.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
But these doozers have rev.
Or they don't have Rev. They are Rev.
They are Rev.
They live Rev.
They are Rev.
You got to floop to be Rev, and you got to Rev to be floop, is what Turbo says at one point.
If I was a doozer, I'd be hanging out with Turbo.
Oh,
for sure.
Boy. I'd be hanging out with Wrench. I'd be like, hey, Wrench, let's hang out over here. No need to floop.
And I'd be over bouncing around being like, see you, Matt. I'm going to floop for a while if that's okay.
I don't think it's very Rev to ask if it's okay.
I would feel bad about it, but I'd still do it. That you didn't want to do it. Because that's what when my friends didn't want, like some of my friends didn't drink in high school. I'd still drink a lot and they'd still be at my house. And
you
like,
were the Turbo.
All right, man. I was Turbo. I didn't pressure anybody into doing it. I was just like, this rocks.
Muppet Wiki notes that in this episode, we see an ad in the Uncle Traveling Matt section.
I thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it says it's in a Muppet Wiki. It says it's for the Captain's Inn, which is the bed and breakfast next to Doc's workshop, which he's trying to get a job at during this episode. The bus ad actually says Captain's House coming soon.
Oh. He says Captain's House in other episodes.
Yeah, and so I think there's just like some distinction between inn, house, bed and breakfast, what it's called. But yeah, we do see an ad for that during the Uncle Traveling Matt segment.
Next to a newspaper thingy that says the Toronto Times or whatever. So Doc confirmed lives in Toronto, which I looked up is right by the ocean. Wasn't sure.
Well, Toronto is by Lake Ontario, so it is.
Oh, it's a lake.
There's a
city.
lake there. It
Can
is
there
not
still be
seaside.
seaweed in a lake?
I think so. I swam in lakes, and my feet touched seaweed.
Yeah,
that was gross.
that's true.
I was
So
grossed out.
Doc lives by one of the Great Lakes.
It seems that
Is
way.
right? Yeah, I just looked at a really close-up map of Toronto.
You were like, "There's water." Boom, ocean.
Yeah.
You kept zooming out. You're like, "This is a lot of water. I'm just gonna assume that's an ocean." Well, Doc has to tell Sprocket something very serious in this episode. He's rehearsing. And really all it is that he's getting a job. But I was a little worried about Doc's health for a moment at the beginning of this episode. And so Doc is getting dressed up for his interview. And then we cut to a Doozer named Wrench.
We met Wrench before,
We met
right?
Wrench before. Yeah, he's Cotterpin's friend.
Right.
But yes, we learn that hiccups are the worst thing to get if you are a Doozer. I have a feeling there's probably a list of worst things if you're a Doozer. But hiccups are probably on it. When Wrench asks, well, how do you get hiccups? Architect says, I'd rather not discuss it.
Yeah, he's burdened by too much knowledge.
But Cotterpin is more than happy to tell Wrench, yeah, it's just caused by bouncing up and down.
She's a bit nasty. She's got the inside track on all this stuff.
Well, yeah, because she is actually both thrilled and disgusted by talking about the details of your insides jostling around when you bounce up and down.
And then when he is flubed up later, she's like, "What's it like?"
I must know. Are you going to die? Tell me. And that's when we meet Turbo Doozer, who's apparently, according to Wrench, one of the greatest Doozers and a leader, if not the leader of the Doozers, which seems like him and Architect might fight for that title. I feel like Architect is his boss.
I thought he was just a leader of Tower Team F.
Oh, maybe that's the way it was framed.
I think that's what it was, yeah.
But this is when we start hearing about Rev. Specifically, this is when they perform the song Rev. Mm-hmm. And we get a little, it's an unremarkable song. I'm going to say that. Mm-hmm. But in the middle, we get a little blue screen shot of Doozer's moonwalking and dancing.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of really good Doozer puppetry throughout this episode.
There really is, yeah.
But then they see the Fraggles coming, and Wrench is going to run away from the Fraggles for some reason. I'm not entirely clear.
They've never done that before. They've always just stood there and been like, look at those idiots.
Yeah, he implies that there's something scary about the Fraggles.
Right.
And the other Doozers are like, they're fine. We like to spy on them.
Which is also weird.
Oh, yeah. Totally weird. That's the thing is, like, I understand that these Doozers are supposed to be the troublemakers.
Right.
But they don't frame, like, everything they do as troublemakers and, like, non-Doozery.
Yeah.
Because to me, a Doozer doing anything but working 20 hours a day is not Doozery. Right. So them stopping work to spy on the Fraggles feels like that should also be sort of viewed as like, oh, Doozers don't stop work.
That's pretty bad too.
But instead we get to see them spying on the Fraggles as Wembley comes in on a leap stick, which is a pogo stick. And the Doozers are amazed and say, wow, a Rev Fraggle.
Is he the most Rev? Yeah.
They decide he is,
so.
I believe.
He's got the coolest shirt. Which is the most rizzed up Fraggle?
Oh, God. Cantus?
None? Maybe. I guess. Cantus.
Convincing John.
Oh, of course. He's got peak charisma. He's got like a +8 to his rolls or whatever. That's right.
Yeah, you're really hitting that Venn diagram of our audience of people who know what Riz means and know D&D stats.
I think that's actually true.
I think you might be right.
Whenever I see the Doozers and it's good puppetry, I'm like, I remember Sue just saying, like, sometimes you'd be there and they'd break, and it would just take like hours to fix them. And I'm like, this must have been an annoying episode.
Yeah, anytime they do a Doozer heavy episode, it feels like it must have been extremely annoying for a lot of the people on the crew.
How many times must this little mouth mechanism have stopped working?
It feels like you could almost be producing like another episode of Fraggle Rock elsewhere at the same time as they're producing an episode.
You got the Doozer Dome set somewhere else.
Yeah. Like, and it takes up so little space.
But I wonder how much like camera crew they really had and stuff like that.
Yeah, they probably weren't actually doing that, but maybe there was like a B team shooting some Doozer stuff or some Gorg stuff or something while that was happening. Because it just seems like, normally you have these giant sprawling cave sets that you're using, and now you're just like, here's a table where all our Doozers live.
Yeah, all the patient people have to go shoot the Doozers.
Well, this is where the Doozers connect that flooping, which is now what they call using a pogo stick, is Rev. And so they decide that we need pogo sticks
to also be Rev.
To be
as Rev as possible.
I do like the effect of the Doozers bouncing up and down.
It's great.
Again, like seeing the Doozers bounce like that, you don't even think about it. That there's a lot of complicated puppetry and blue screen and all that happening in this. Yeah. But it is really impressive.
There's really so few times throughout all of Fraggle Rock that I think about them being puppets. It's like sometimes you'll see a pretty prominent arm rod and be like, oh yeah, I guess they are puppets. Mm-hmm. But otherwise it's just like a very, very good illusion.
Yeah, specifically in this one, when Uncle Traveling Matt gets almost eaten by a bus, his jacket gets caught in the bus doors and peels it off, and then we see a naked, or at least a topless Uncle Traveling Matt, and his arm rods...
It'd be better if he was naked. It's worse that he's topless.
His arm rods had never been more prominent than in that moment, and I still, though, don't think about them being puppets as much as I did with the Muppets on The Muppet Show.
No, totally not. And the Muppets are supposed to be puppets. Like, they're basically aware. Say, we're puppets. We're putting on a puppet show for you.
Right. And I can always picture, Jim and Frank underneath there, but I rarely think about Jerry or Dave or anybody underneath Fraggle Rock. Like, the Fraggles are alive when I'm watching the show. Mm-hmm. We had our little middle segment in this episode where Doc talks about how he doesn't like dressing up because he'd rather impress people with his intelligence, not his shiny shoes.
I like Doc in this one. This was one of my favorite Doc segments.
Did you think in the other little Doc segment we have here, we find out he didn't get the job because the woman says he was overqualified and says that he wouldn't want to do dirty work like plumbing and says he's probably too nice to be the manager. That's a weird thing to say.
That she was just like wanted him to leave?
Oh, I was going to say, do you think she was hitting on him?
Oh.
Like, you seem like too nice of a man to want this job.
I think when you're hitting on people, you say, you must be great at doing the plumbing.
I guess.
No, I thought she was like scared of him. Being like, you have to get out of here.
Who's this wild, unhinged man coming in yelling about how he could definitely do plumbing and his shiny shoes?
Oh, I thought he just had totally flopped his interview. But he did too good a job. He looked too nice and good.
Seems unlikely.
It does seem really unlikely.
But down back in the Doozer Dome, we have the Flooping Song, which is another Devo-style song from Fraggle Rock, where they say, we're the flooping generation. But during their flooping time, Wrench gets the hiccups, and he's dizzy, can hardly see, and he can't smell.
I love him like crawling off to his shame in that dark room.
Scoop Doozer is working on setting up the old foundation here for the supports under the Doozer Dome, and he gets the hiccups while working on the foundation.
Yep.
And this is when you start to realize, like, it's sort of like they're drunk on the job, or they're high, or whatever it is. This peer pressure metaphor seems to be like they're getting drunk and then coming to work to do a dangerous job.
Great message for a kid's show. Yeah. Really relatable to kids.
Yeah, kids, when you're on the construction squad, what are they? There's probably a better word than squad. Crew, there we go.
Yeah.
Kids, when you're getting into construction next year, make sure not to drink on the job. But Turbo's hiccups get worse and worse and leads to the entire tower falling on him, and we see him nearly dead.
He looked dead. I thought for sure we were going to have our first casualty.
I would love to know, and maybe we'll get this in some behind-the-scenes things we watch later, just how the production teams differed when they were working on these episodes. Because from like a filmmaking point of view, the lenses and the way you film a Doozer close-up is so dramatically different than when you're filming a Gorg close-up or a Fraggle close-up. Because you have to have a lens really close to a really small thing. Mm-hmm. And so, just, again, something we probably won't get an answer to, but I am curious about.
It's a shame that there wasn't a big behind the scenes. Is there not a big behind the scenes documentary of
There
Fraggle
is
Rock?
some sort of documentary about it. I have not watched much of it because I don't want any spoilers for later seasons.
Okay.
But we do have some sort of documentary to watch. I think it's just called Down at Fraggle Rock. At the very end, once we finish all 5 seasons, we'll watch that.
This is one where I actually want to hear Jim sit and talk about really boring stuff for a long time.
Yeah, and I think we'll get some of that. I just don't know if we'll get exactly the thing I'm asking about. But Turbo, thankfully, does not die. He just breaks one arm, both legs, and an antenna.
Yeah, he looks bad.
Yeah. Speaking of looking bad, I don't like Wrench's design as a Doozer.
No, Wrench is like messed up.
His eyes are like too far up and out.
They're really high up
and his
on
hair
head.
is weird.
He's not cute.
No.
The rest of them are cute.
Every Doozer
He's
is
not
cute,
cute.
except for Wrench.
He's the ugliest Doozer.
Bar none.
That's too
no. If, we don't even need to run a poll on Twitter for that one.
That
Wrench is
sucks
the
for him.
ugliest Doozer.
Yeah.
Hope he's not listening. And then, yeah, to wrap up the episode, we find out Doc got the job.
Because he went back and was crazy.
Yeah. And then immediately he's going to ask out his boss on a date.
Yep. Which is not good.
No, don't do that, folks.
No.
When you're joining the construction squad next year, kids, don't ask out
Yeah.
your boss.
I feel like that's something like your little brother would do. And you'd be like, no. Too fast, Wolver. Too fast.
Oh, you called him out by name.
Uh-huh. He doesn't listen to this.
But yeah, the lessons throughout this seem to be a bit of like, you don't have to dress to impress. Don't give in to peer pressure what you think other people want of you.
Yeah, you should probably dress up for your job interview, though.
Yeah, he does dress up for the date. So I guess that's something.
That's true. Don't ask your boss out. Dress up for your job interview. Lots of practical work. Don't get drunk at work. This is lots of work advice for kids.
Yeah. This is an episode for the parents watching.
When you're old enough to start working, you'll be like, oh yeah, Doc taught me about this. I should go in there and scream and be crazy.
I can be not nice. I can plumb.
I'm mean and nasty. Plumbers are mean and nasty, just like me.
Yeah.
I give that one 3 stars and wrote perfectly serviceable episode again.
I was say, isn't that exactly what you wrote for the last one?
Yeah.
All right.
This one was so on the nose. I feel like they're not usually this on the nose.
No, and I think for me, it was just a little... I don't think Wrench is a strong enough character to carry a whole plot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And
But also, Cotter Pin would have been like, getting drunk rules.
yeah, guys, I could do both. Watch me build this tower while I.
Well, she's in a creative position, so maybe she's like, who's the guy?
Don Draper.
Who wrote Old Man in the Sea?
You're talking about Ernest Hemingway, right?
Yeah,
Drunk,
Hemingway,
edit,
like
edit
right drunk,
sober.
edit sober. Yeah, she's like architect drunk, edit your architecture sober. And also all the Fraggles would be like getting drunk rules too.
I was
So
thinking
you
more of
can't
a
have that.
architect and her just have bars in their office, like Mad Men
Yeah.
style, where they're just like, yeah, a little drink. It's 11 a.m. It's time for our cocktails.
Cotter Pin like laying on the sofa in her office, being like, "Can't have any fucking good ideas. What am I doing with my life?"
Squares. It's always squares. Well, speaking of out there ideas, our next episode is Boober's Quiet Day that aired on June 4th, 1984, written by Jerry Jewell and directed by Eric Till. In an AskHenson.com web column, Dave Goles cited this episode as his most challenging Muppet performance because of having to do the dual roles and the blue screen, the accent, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so you may have noticed, if you've watched this episode, that Sam very kindly has referred to the fortune teller character in this episode. The episode does not refer to the character as a fortune teller. Instead, they use a Romani slur that is said a lot, and it's a very weird thing.
It doesn't even make sense.
No, and it's
That kind of person wouldn't even exist really necessarily.
that's
Whatever.
the thing is the Fraggles know so little about humans,
Uh-huh.
pretty much nothing. And so when human things cross over with the Fraggles, it happens so infrequently that when it's this stereotype that crosses over, that Boober knows what stereotypical accent to do to dress like to all
It
this.
is really ridiculous.
It is.
Yeah.
He might as well, like, obviously less offensive choice, be Elvis. Like, he might as well show up as something that's like, there is no way he would know this thing. But instead of Elvis, it's an offensive stereotype.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
So bizarre because I like everything else about this episode.
Me too. I thought this was a really fun one.
It's just, tainted by, like, the way it is told. The execution is unfortunate.
It's even funny that he has a peg leg.
Yeah, which I'm sure is also a stereotype, but I don't know. But it starts off in the episode, Doc dropped off Sprocket for a flea bath. and he
He's
immediately
taking it bad.
starts talking to himself and pours a bowl of food for Sprocket, who is not there.
Not there.
But he decides to embrace it and have a nice, quiet day, which is something that Boober also wants. And he is trying to relax with some tea and some potato cookies.
Somebody that Boober really reminded me of this episode, Kermit the Frog. He like sounds very Kermity. I feel like he's acting very Kermity. And then I was watching more and more. I was like, Boober sounds exactly like Kermit and Miss Piggy combined. Boober would be like their child.
Well, and yeah, I think like I could see Kermit doing this same plot on an episode of The Muppet Show where he gets wrapped up in too many lies. And yeah, the wanting to have a nice quiet day away from everybody else.
Just drink his little cup of tea and be left alone for once in his life.
Yeah.
It's hard to be the only competent person in the friend group you hang out with, as Kermit has also learned.
But instead of his nice quiet day, he starts to dream that he's floating away in a teacup through outer space. And we start to see the colorful outline of a familiar foe.
This motherfucker is back again.
Sidebottom's back with a new flashy outfit.
He looks great, yeah.
Yeah. And a little less threatening than he has been in the past.
Totally.
He's not trying
He's
to
just kind of
trap.
like, let's hang out for a while.
He does, though, immediately grab onto Boober and the Freddy Krueger style to be like, you're taking me out of this dream, kid. Which sort of kind of works. He's essentially out of the dream, and Boober can interact with him, but nobody else is seeing and interacting with Sidebottom.
That was really confusing. Yeah, that was really confusing at first. I needed Moki to have walked in and them both to be there and her not to acknowledge that he was there or something. Like to really understand what was happening.
Right. Or they like think they see two people and they turn and then Sidebottom's gone. They're like, wait.
But Sidebottom is not there. He did not literally come out of the dream.
No, it seems like Sidebottom has escaped from the dream world and is just now inside of Boober's head controlling him.
Yeah, because there's moments, Boober's mostly in control and Sidebottom is physically somewhere else, but then Boober will say something that's like, oh, Sidebottom made him say that.
Yeah.
But then there's another part where he has to go over to Sidebottom and like listen to the next part of the thing Sidebottom's telling him, you know?
Well, you want to know the thing that really breaks this all open and really messes with it? Where'd that disguise come from, Sam?
That's crazy.
Sidebottom uses magic to make a fortune teller costume appear on Boober during this.
That's one of those things, like when the trash heap makes of levitate, or like the whole blue crystal or whatever, where it's like, what are you guys doing?
Like this imaginary rebellious side of Boober can create physical things.
He can manifest things in the real world, just like Freddy.
Yeah.
He's just got the same
That's what I'm saying. Sidebottom is a threat and he must be dealt with.
I think you might be right. Even if he doesn't mean to be, he's still too powerful to live. There's no such thing as being benign if you have that kind of power.
But throughout this episode, everyone is in a tizzy because there's a visitor coming to Fraggle Rock, and it is the old fortune teller lady who gets the same sort of treatment as like a convincing John or a Cantus, but really brings nothing to the table.
Barely even shows up. They're going to throw her a damn surprise party.
Yeah, and because Tosh Fraggle wants to go see the fortune teller, she asks Boober to pet sit her beasts for her. And Boober's like...
Couldn't think of a name for the beast this time.
Yeah.
Just the beast.
Just my beast. Later on, it's Beastie. It's like, okay. You had a long time to think of that. And this is when the lies begin, saying he's going on a trip.
I do feel for Boober. This is like an episode that really speaks to me because I don't like when people ask me to do things. But I feel like people ask me to do things a lot. And I always want to be like, I can't because I have to go to the doctor. And Rachel's like, you can't say that. Just say you can't.
Especially if you say it too many times, people are going to be like, I think Sam's not okay.
Very sick.
He's going to the doctor 8 times this month.
Or even if it's just like, you want to come out tonight? It's like, I'm not feeling so good. You can't say I'm not feeling so good more than like once every like 6 months. Or even like once a year. Or people will be like, what's going on? But sometimes you're just tired and you don't want to take care of someone's pet. But then you have to go take care of their pet because it's just the right thing to do.
In this case, though, I feel like Boober could have just said no. We've never met Tosh Fraggle directly before.
No, she's obviously not a big deal in Fraggle
Yeah,
Rock.
Boober's like, I barely know who you are. I'm not going to pet sit for you.
Seemed like a pretty competent pet too. Like maybe he could
Yeah.
have just taken care of himself a little bit.
Yeah. But this is when the lies continue because Moki wants Boober to get some dreidel nests from the dreidel bugs to make ink for her art, I guess, or for writing poetry. I don't really remember, but she needs ink. And his lie is that he's going to the lilac cavern for his bleach nuts, which apparently is near the dreidel bugs.
I was kind of confused about when he runs into the storyteller after that, because
Yeah, that felt like a
storyteller,
plot device where it's like, well, we need to solve this one.
but the storyteller also like looks at him really weird, you know? Like, you remember that? Like the storyteller's like acting super strange and suspicious.
Oh, and I might be imagining this now, but is there a thing where the storyteller almost catches on to the side bottom stuff? Because there's a moment in this where he merges with side bottom. And they like merge together, and I think it almost is like we need to do this to cover our tracks, so that no one sees you. But
maybe that is why she's being weird, because she's just like side eyes him. She's like, yeah, I know where the nests are, but she's also like, what the heck's going on with you, bro?
Now is there any moment in this episode where someone is in a room with side bottom?
No, I don't think so.
So does side bottom exist?
I don't know. I think he hides when Gobo and Wembley come.
See, this whole time I was in my head, side bottom was just like a figment of his imagination who was able to talk to him.
I need to watch that part again.
I'm like, I think side bottom actually maybe was out of the dream and
that's when you can kill him. Like Freddy, you have to get a crucifix.
If only they'd known he was there.
I think you have to like put a crucifix on him and like shoot him. That's how you kill Freddy and side bottom.
We're gonna have to teach the Fraggles what a crucifix is first, and that's gonna be a really weird episode.
Yeah.
Uncle Traveling Matt has a hell of a postcard.
They go crazy over a radio. They're gonna go really crazy over a depiction of Christ.
Uncle Traveling Matt sends them a Bible.
Yeah.
Changes Fraggle Rock forever. But yeah, the storyteller is just wandering by, and Boober lies to her and says that he's writing a book about nightmares. And so he needs some ink. And apparently the storyteller is known for having dreidel nests.
I guess.
Yeah.
And she's just like, yeah, there's some over there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And Red wants to borrow Boober's cave, which we've talked about this in the past. We've never seen inside of Boober's cave.
Yeah, we have. I think it's the same place where he was making the soup. The soup of death or whatever.
Maybe. Okay. That might be true. I feel like maybe we haven't had it as explicitly called out as like, through this curtain is Boober's cave.
Yeah. I think it could have been, it could have been like the laundry room.
Right. Yeah. We see him cooking.
He's even got
we see
a
him
lantern outside of it. You see like his front stoop.
Yeah. But he has lied again to Red, saying that he loaned out his place for the night to the fortune teller. And now Sidebottom wants Boober to pretend to be the fortune teller for some reason.
Because it's fun, man. This
guess.
is kind of like, at this part, I was like, sometimes it is kind of fun to lie and have to go crazy, you know?
But it seems like it's
he
only
looks like
because
he's having a good time.
They're going to do a surprise party for a person that you said is staying here tonight. So that means you have to be that person. And it's like, but she's coming here.
Yeah, you could say, hey, you should stay in my cave. It's empty. And then just go hide.
Yeah. Seems like an easy lie to cover instead of having to dress up like her. It's really convenient that they look alike. It's kind of like when the guy wanted to switch lives with Wembley.
Yeah, a lot of people look exactly like Fraggles.
It's like a weird 10, 15-year-old reference. There's episodes of How I Met Your Mother. There's like a running joke where they're always on the lookout for their doppelgangers. And there's certain episodes where they find like a guy who looks just like Barney, and it's always like it's played by Neil Patrick Harris and all this stuff. Right. And this feels like we're slowly meeting all of the Fraggle doppelgangers, and we could assemble like this super team of fortune teller lady,
nasty weirdos,
old man who wants to take Wembley's life away from him.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a terrible collection of Fraggles. But this is when Sidebottom gives Boober the disguise.
Just gives him a zap.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. He like kind of like throws it. Like he throws like a clump of stuff to him and it just sort of like bloops onto him.
Right.
And so now Boober is putting on quite the accent to pretend to be...
He sounds like Mario.
A little bit, yeah. Which I I don't love the accent for obvious reasons. I do
Right.
love that Gobo says to him, like, what's that accent? That doesn't sound right. And he's like, this is the right accent. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's a very good accent.
Yeah,
I think
it's
he
actually
says.
great. What do you know, Gobo? There is a moment, too, that I think my favorite moment of the episode is an easily missed moment when Boober is first outside of the cave pretending to be the fortune teller for all the other Fraggles. He's putting on the accent and like really selling it, and he like looks back towards his cave, and a little thumbs up comes out from the curtain.
Right, I remember that.
You just see Side Bottom's thumb stick out like, you're doing great.
Oh, this is a fun episode. If only he had pretended to be something else.
Just make it Elvis. I don't know why that was the example I pulled earlier, but make it Elvis.
And Elvis, like Boober with like his hair slicked up and like, hey, baby.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah. And he could be like, debonair, and you have the Riz.
He would be all rizzed up for sure.
This is the Uncle Traveling Matt segment that I felt like was kind of a stretch.
This one's kind of fun and crazy also.
Yeah.
Those people, well, go ahead.
So we see Uncle Traveling Matt with a lampshade over his head.
He's just standing in someone's, like these people's living room with a lampshade over his head.
Yes, which is the only tenuous connection to the plot is he's talking about disguising yourself.
He's in disguise, yeah.
But really, this is about people making out with napkins because he's talking about this weird thing humans like that they sit on their lap while they're eating food and then they give it a little kiss.
Once they dab their mouths. Those people are eating plates piled high with food.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Did you see that? It's like potato wedges and fried chicken and like French fries or something. And it's like a big heap of all brown fried food. It looks really good.
I say, we're recording this before dinner, and
It's dinner time.
I'm currently now starving thanks to that.
Yeah, it looked delicious. But what is it even like? What he's like kissing the napkin? What do they take from that part of it? Nothing
Nothing
right?
at all. Because it ends with just Uncle Traveling Matt trying to kiss a napkin to see if he likes it.
Right, and Gobo's only reading it because he's not supposed to be talking about the surprise party. So he's like, I wanted to talk to you about something. This postcard. And then at the end, I think everybody's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, because even Boober as the fortune teller lady is like, oh, God. But eventually, the actual lady shows up, and it's just kind of revealed.
Yeah, Boober's just like, I give up.
Yeah, I've been lying
That's
this whole
me.
time. And that's kind of it. It's a weird deflated ending. And again, overall, like the idea, hate the execution.
He faces no repercussions for lying either.
No, it's sort of like the race episode where you just kind of find out Gobo was never going to be mad.
Yeah.
Everyone's
and all
just
the
like,
Fraggles are just like, you want to be alone? You should have just said, I want to be alone.
Right.
Bye.
which I guess
Which I guess is healthy.
yeah, and we're getting the lesson we're sort of getting repeated throughout those is to like just be honest with your friends, tell them what you want. And I think there's like, I don't know, it feels like you can make that even slightly clearer.
Right.
Or also not make every default plot feel like the lesson is just tell your friends what you want.
But that's a lesson I need to learn, so it's helpful to see.
Well, Sam, what do you want?
A big pile of
Same.
fried chicken and French fries.
I'm having like a healthy dinner tonight too. This is not going to be satisfying.
Ew, I hate healthy dinner night when it's like time to make the quinoa. Fuck you.
The new Dunkin' Donuts commercial. Time to make the quinoa.
Yeah, that's the America liberals want.
I was
Dunkin' Donuts gone woke.
I could feel us racing to say that same joke.
So I give that one 3.5 episodes. Or
That's about where
Stars.
we're at in our talking points.
3.5 stars. Because it was, I mean, that's a high for what it deserves. but
I
it's a
totally
good
get it though,
episode.
because I did, as an episode, enjoy it more than the previous episodes.
Boober's so funny in this
Yeah.
episode.
Dave Goals, good job.
Yeah, it's really good.
The task you were given, unfortunate, but you did great executing that task. And lastly, we have the June 11th, 1984 episode, The Invasion of the Toe Ticklers, written by David Young and directed by George Bloomfield. Notably, this is the last episode aired in the second season. And so Muppet Wiki explains this. After this episode, HBO aired repeats of the show until Christmas, when the third season began. So basically, people were not without Fraggle Rock between seasons. However, the producers didn't take that season break. They went on to make 6 more episodes of Fraggle Rock right after they finished the second season and aired those as the first 6 episodes of the third season in 1985. So they basically finished filming season 2 and then made a few more episodes so they could bank them for the next season so that they could have a summer break.
So then they could go, on break.
Yeah,
sure.
which is smart.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see if there's like a noticeable change in anything between the first 6 and the rest of season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this episode, Doc is complaining about the construction while Sprocket chews on a fossil. It's just like a little trilobite fossil, by the way. It's nothing like actually that rare or worth a lot of money.
Yeah. They shouldn't let them do that, though. Dogs shouldn't chew on rocks, right?
I mean,
Like,
they
you have a
do
dog.
sometimes. They shouldn't swallow rocks, and if they bite them too hard, they can break their teeth. But
But they can chew on rocks? Just kind of suck on it?
some dogs do. My dog, we don't let her do that. But
Ew.
Doc clearly does because he says the line, "This isn't a nom-nom rock. This is a fossil."
He does say nom nom rock, which I think is the thing that made me think, like, is there a nom nom rock? There shouldn't be.
Yeah, there's this thing they say about like dog toys shouldn't be so hard that if you like hit your knee with it, it would hurt. But there's a lot of dog toys that are really, really hard.
Kongs are very hard.
They're not even the worst offenders. There's one for like tough chewers that just feel like the hardest plastic dense thing you can imagine. And we get a Moki Diary episode, which I immediately was like, what'd she do this time?
She does seem really sad at first, like, but she's not.
Yeah, she sings a weird song that doesn't really have anything to do with anything. It's just like a hippy dippy, I'm going to sing to the trees and the butterfly's going to land in my hand. And
I guess it's really fun that she's the one who always brings Fraggle Rock to the brink of absolute destruction. I do like that.
There's also an interesting set behind her. She seems to be pretty far away from Gorg Castle. And so they have sort of like a miniature silhouetted Gorg Castle they built behind her that at first I thought was a completely different building because it doesn't look that much like Gorg Castle.
It's a weird angle on it or something. Yeah. But a cool set. I liked that new set.
And then we see a terrifying creature that looks like a caterpillar with antenna for eyes.
And big old lips.
Yeah, comes over and tickles Moki's toes and eats all the flowers. And I don't like this thing.
I don't really mind it.
I don't like its
it was
antenna
okay.
eyes. That's really creepy to me. It's got like Janice lips and antenna eyes.
Yeah, maybe it is kind of creepy now that I'm looking at it, with, like thinking that those would be the eyes.
Well, and that it
I don't
gets
like
off
that
on
anymore.
tickling your toes.
That part was a little weird.
Yeah.
These guys really like feet.
They really like feet.
Yeah.
And like, I don't like, obviously children's show, I don't want to like assume anything, but it's weird like watching it and seeing just the joy the ticklers are getting out of doing that is bizarre.
David Young, do you like Muppet feet? I hate Muppet feet, so we can have a big conversation about it. I hate muddy Muppet feet. I like cute little Fraggle feet. Interesting. I'll have to think about my stance on Muppet feet, I
Say
guess.
earlier in this episode, you said I like when I see their feet.
It's cute. Fraggles have really cute feet, but the Jug Band that had muddy feet did not have cute
I think
feet.
it's the little ball toes that the Fraggles have. There's like boop, boop,
Yeah.
boop, boop, boop. Well, a bunch of the red toe ticklers are creeping up and following Moki as she takes Agnes back to Fraggle Rock.
Agnes is like the unstated leader of the toe ticklers, or like the queen or something.
Seems
maybe?
like that maybe is like maybe why she's a different color from all the rest of them and why they follow her and why she's able to like send them signals of what to do. It's never very clearly stated because we don't get, thankfully, dear God, Agnes does not speak.
No.
If at the end of this episode, Agnes was just like, "Thank you, Moki, for taking me to my chambers." Like, you could talk the whole time?
Annie, you were tickling my feet? The hell?
We get a weird distinction where when Moki is concerned about the Gorgs killing Agnes, she says, "She is not a bug," which makes you think, one, I don't know if Moki knows what a bug is, but
Yeah.
two, I guess Moki would be okay with killing bugs?
I suppose in the Gorgs, that one episode they were like, never kill anything, which was such a nice development for the Gorgs, but they don't.
Yeah, that was like Mogorg specifically, too.
Yeah.
Talking to Junior about not killing things.
Maybe it's like Junior's already tasted blood, so it's too late for him. Ma will never kill anything.
You have to feed
but she's like,
Junior's dark
it's a-
passenger.
Yeah. It's a great sin to take a life, but you've already done it, so.
Yeah, it's a bug. Come on, Junior, kill the bugs.
And it's just a bug.
Gobo comes running into the room purely because he wants to read his postcard to Moki. This postcard is Uncle Matt in a delightful raincoat, kissing trees and embracing nature.
This is a nice one. I like this one.
Yes, it's very well done. He sees a bunch of litter just kind of strewn amongst the trees for some reason.
Yeah, like hanging off of the trees.
Yeah.
Like a big gear or something hanging off of a tree.
So he's going to take the garbage and get rid of it. And so he sees a hiker out on a hike with a big old bag, and he takes the garbage and puts it in the hiker's bag. And the hiker throws the garbage in the garbage can where it belongs.
Yeah.
So Matt tries to throw away the thermos that the hiker has with him. And so she picks up Uncle Traveling Matt and throws him right in the garbage can.
Throws him in the garbage can. I would love to throw this guy in the garbage can.
She seems to enjoy it a lot. She just dunks him in there. Then we get some more close-ups of the toe ticklers tickling the Fraggle's toes. And at this point, I'm like, okay, where's the dark side? What is she poisoning them? What's happening here? There's too much enjoyment happening.
Oh, I saw it coming from a mile away. These things are going to destroy the environment.
Oh, really? You thought so?
Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be a thing where like they were sort of like the sleepiness or the mind control or the whatever different things we've seen. I thought it was going to be another sort of warping the Fraggle's brains.
No way. The flowers were obviously a setup for we need these guys, but the Fraggles don't need these guys.
We get a song called You Were Born to Laugh, where we see a bunch more Fraggle feet getting tickled. But this is also when we do find out the Gorgs saved the flowers because there was no infestation to be found. But now the flowers smell like old socks when they grow out to full bloom.
Big and tall and creepy looking, too.
Mm-hmm. And of course, now Ma Gorg wants to get rid of them. And we cut back to Fraggle Rock where the toe ticklers are devouring Doozer towers. These things are on a rampage.
Mm-hmm.
And they could just devour Fraggles, I think, if they wanted to.
It does seem like they're one step away from starting to be like, okay, your turn.
Yeah, these Doozer sticks and moss aren't quite enough. We could really get some calories in us if we took down this Tosh Fraggle. Speaking of Tosh Fraggle, in the last episode or whatever, we didn't talk about Beastie, the actual puppet, which I did enjoy a lot when we actually got to see Beastie.
Beastie was cool.
Beastie's like a furry bear gremlin looking kind of thing with, I think, had a bow on as well.
Yeah, there's a bow. Beastie looks like it would have been like a Muppet redressed from like the 60s, you know?
Right,
Like
and maybe
Beastie's been around for a
Beastie
while.
is like an old puppet that they've used 1,000 times. But it was just, it was one of those things where I was distracted by the content of that episode. And so when Beastie showed up, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
And Beastie does chase. He faces a little repercussion for his lies because he does in the episode getting chased around by Beastie. Boober does.
Interestingly, Beastie will show up in future Muppet productions, but has not shown up before, it seems. So Agnes then signals to the other toe ticklers, and thankfully at the same time, Gobo is like, we need to herd these things away. And so they try to herd them successfully to a cavern where they then push a big rock in front of the cavern to lock them in forever.
They do a great job.
Yeah.
His plan just goes off without a hitch. They're just like, all right, we're sealing them away in there. We'll die in there.
Well,
Great.
no, Sam. Gobo
They'll
is confident
crawl up the wall.
that they can eat the moss and crawl up the chimney cave or whatever it's called.
That's just what he's saying.
Oh,
he doesn't
for
know.
sure.
He doesn't
Hey, I'm
know
sure
what
there's
that's
enough
like.
moss in there for them to eat.
Yeah.
He clearly knows nothing about these creatures, so that's a lot of assumptions he's making that they can crawl up there and that they can eat these things. Because if he knew enough, he would know that they're about to transform. When Moki walks in after actually moving the rock herself, which was impressive, she sees a bunch of balloon eggs hanging in the cavern.
Yeah.
Which reminded me.
This was the summer of gremlins. So
Oh, I was gonna say, it also reminded me a bit of Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
yeah, that too.
And they're-
These are evil cocoons.
Yeah, I definitely sensed like an alien, gremlins, Killer Clowns vibe. Something bad was happening, I thought. Turns out, nope, it's fine.
Nothing. It's fine. Everything's okay.
Yeah. Except the cave does collapse and Moki is trapped forever. She starts to accept her death because no Fraggle has ever made it to the top. But then the egg starts to hatch and it takes 1,000 hours.
It does. I feel like a lot of parts of this episode must take forever because like not that much happens in it.
No.
So they must just be getting they're getting their toes tickled for so long.
A lot of up close toe tickles and a lot of
Yeah.
hatching in one
and a lot of trying
long,
to pull those
uncut
flowers
shot.
out. And like the Gorgs are like, those flowers are cool. Yeah. Look at these flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hate these flowers now. Me too. And it's just like, okay. nothing really happens in this episode.
No. And then they hatch, they turn into jellyfish, and they fly away. And thankfully, Agnes grabs Moki to carry her out to the top. We learn that they are called purple springers, and their job is to eat the flowers that smell like old socks.
Yeah, the Gorgs know all about them, except they don't know shit about them.
No.
They think they come from the sky and are not the little caterpillars that they hate.
Yeah, they don't connect the dots that they are the same creature, but I think it's Ma or Pa says that they are their favorite garden creature. And yeah, to end out the episode, Doc has figured out a new path for the gas line, which is closer to his house, which just means that they have to find a new place for Sprocket's doghouse.
What?
But he doesn't mind because he gets to chew on the fossil rock.
And Doc gets to make good with
Miss Ardath.
Miss Ardath. We also learned the name of the Airedale. But what was it?
Marigold.
Marigold the Airedale.
The sexy Airedale.
Oh, I gave that one 3 stars. I said perfectly serviceable episode.
Well, hopefully that's what people are saying about this episode right now.
I think this is a great one.
Yeah, if you're going to call us a perfectly serviceable episode on Apple reviews, at least give it 5 stars.
Yeah, I always give 5 stars. Sometimes there's episodes of Fraggle Rock where I'm like literally starting to fall asleep because they're so boring. I didn't start to fall asleep in any of these. They were all just like,
yeah.
If that had been a first season episode, I would have said, hey, that was one of the best first season episodes.
I think you're right. Like, I think it's not the worst batch we've ever watched, and I do think they're fine. I think they just, because there was so many mediocre episodes back to back, I was like, I was kind of afraid, like, do I like Fraggle Rock anymore?
Oh, you do.
I probably do.
I just think the morals were so, like, we were complaining earlier about the, like, a few episodes ago, like, oh, there's no morals anymore.
Yeah.
This one is like, duh, ecology.
Talk to your
much.
friends.
Yeah.
Don't drink on the job.
Exactly.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. We have a while until we're talking about Fraggle Rock Season 3.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of time to hate Muppet Babies in the meantime.
Yeah, it'll be... we don't have to wait too long, though, Sam. It'll be in August when we are talking about Fraggle Rock Season 3. So just get like a month or a month and a half off from Fraggle Rock. But now it's time for our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week, it doesn't have a lot going on, so we'll get through this pretty quickly here. It's Architect Doozer. And pretty much we've learned everything there is to know about Architect Doozer already in the things we've watched, because he's seemingly the leader and supervisor of the other Doozers and seems to just be in charge of, just about everything, from planning, supervising, telling Doozers about the past. He's sort of their historian. And the only thing that we've really learned about him is that he, like Cotterpin, did not want to be a builder and refused to participate in his helmet ceremony. So he wears a visor. And we learned that the previous architect liked circles, whereas this architect likes squares, which means this Architect Doozer is not named Architect Doozer and must have a name.
You think so, or you think that they forsake their name and become architect? I think that's what it is.
Or is he from a long line of Architect Doozers?
Oh, and he was just like, I guess this Architect Doozer is actually an architect. Like that?
I meant more of like a doctor who names their kid Doctor. I was like, what else are you going to be? Huh?
I think you would have said my old dad, he likes circles.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I think you become the architect and you put that visor on and you're like, Cotterpin is no more. Today I am architect.
Maybe that'll be an episode in the future, maybe Back to the Rock or something, where Architect retires and Cotterpin becomes Architect Doozer.
Yes. The architect crumbles to dust.
The moment he takes his visor off, it's holding him together. Well, Architect debuted in 1984 in the second season episode, All Work and All Play. He is performed by Jerry Nelson in the original series and John Tartaglia in Back to the Rock. And in the animated series, he's performed by Townsend Coleman, who is also the voice of Animated Gobo, but is also the voice of The Tick and Michelangelo. And while we saw him in 4 episodes of Season 2, we will only see him twice per season in Seasons 3, 4, and 5. So expect less Architect from here on out. And that's literally everything Muppet Wiki has to say about Architect Doozer.
He's just some guy. He's around and then he's not.
So if you had to rate him based on all of that information, Sam, what do you give Architect?
I really like him because I like that he's an elder who, unlike every other elder in this show, isn't an idiot. Like, he's got his little biases, but also people listen to him and he kind of knows what he's talking about, which is refreshing because not all old people are stupid. As Fraggle Rock genuinely does seem like it would have you believe that all elders are stupid.
Right, yes. World's Oldest Fraggle and Uncle Traveling Matt being the prime examples.
The storyteller's okay, but even she's like lying about a lot of the stuff she's talking about. It seems like, or like has a tenuous grasp on what she's talking about occasionally. So I would give him, he's a great supporting character. I'd give him an 8. I've completely lost track of what I've given him.
Oh, yeah, same.
Like, at this point, but what would you give him?
I'm going to say a 7 because I also feel like I've lost track of everything we've ever rated characters. We probably gave like Kermit like a 4 or something.
Yeah, at this point, I'm like,
but I feel like
5.
we talked about it earlier with Fraggle Rock, like these characters feel real. And I feel like they feel pretty fleshed out even when there's only this much to say about a character. I still feel like I know who Architect Doozer is and how he's going to react to situations. And so because they're so like fully formed characters, I feel like we can't rate them that low.
Yeah, they have much more consistent characterization than Muppets tend to also, the Muppet Show Muppets.
So yeah, solid 7 from me. So Sam, before we go, I got to ask you, did you have time to enjoy any non-Muppet things this week?
I had a lot of family in town this week, so I didn't watch a ton of stuff, but we did go see Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse, is that what it's called?
Spider-Verse Across the Spider-Verse.
And I liked it, but it was not a whole movie.
Hey,
So,
I felt very similar. I was afraid to bring this up because I was afraid you're going to be like, oh my God, I fucking loved it.
oh, it's beautiful. I mean, I think technically I did fucking love it because it was fun to watch. But it was also kind of at the end, it was like, man, that felt really like the first act of a movie.
Yeah, it bugged me in a lot of ways in that I liked it. I love the artistry, love the design, all that stuff, but it ends like 12 times. There's like a bunch of times where you're like, is that the end? Nope, still going. Is that the end?
And I knew
nope.
I knew it ended on a cliffhanger, so I was doing the same thing. I was like, this has got to be the cliffhanger, right? Oh, this has got to be the cliffhanger, right? Which made me not enjoy it as much, which was my fault.
I mean, yes and no. I don't think that's entirely your fault. Like, knowing that something can be a cliffhanger shouldn't ruin it. They should still be able to build that up to that naturally and like in a good way. But I think
that's like the biggest cliffhanger. Like that's not even. It almost wasn't a cliffhanger. It's
an Empire Strikes Back cliffhanger, where it's like, hey, yeah, that sucks. Wait till the next movie though.
Totally.
And so I get what they're doing, but I just think there was a lot of like writing issues with that movie that bugged me more than anything. Where I can see that. I just didn't care as much as I did about the first one.
Yeah, I kind of found myself thinking that too.
Yeah.
Like it's so beautiful that it's hard to be like anything but like, at least they're doing something, you know? But man, I love hearing Jake Johnson. He's my favorite.
Yeah.
I fucking love that.
No, he's
guy.
great. I do enjoy him.
That version of Spider-Man's like my favorite version of Spider-Man ever. What about you? What did you watch?
Oh, I watched that.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah. And then I finished Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the actual storyline finally. I am going to try and like not quite 100% it, but at least do some more Easter egg exploring.
Are you going to play Outlaws or whatever it's called?
Probably when it comes out, if it's not exclusive to Xbox, which it potentially could be with all the things they've been buying up. Yeah, gearing up to dive into Tears of the Kingdom. But also F1 23 just came out, so I've been playing a lot of that.
Oh. There's never not a new video game, is there?
Thankfully, though, F1 23, that and Zelda are very different games, so I can play both those at the same time. And I have a trip coming up in a couple of weeks, so prime Zelda time. We're about to get out of here, but I gotta let everyone out there and Sam know what we're watching next time.
I know.
What are we watching?
I can't remember.
Yep, there we go. So next week, we're going to do another catch-up episode to watch some things that we've missed over the past 104 episodes. This includes a very long list of things like the banned Wicked Witch episode of Sesame Street, some 70s Today Show appearances, and some behind-the-scenes of The Dark Crystal, and even a peek at Star Boppers, the ill-fated Freudian puppet project.
The only thing of it that exists, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We will post that whole list on Instagram and Twitter so you can watch along with us. It's a bunch of random stuff that I don't want to list off right now, but should be a good time of a lot of really a grab bag episode. But we need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to commitmentstuff.com to pick up all your brand new Commitment merch. And you can email us at mail@commitment.com if you have any questions or links to secret, unseen Muppet things that we could include in our next catch-up episode. And you can follow this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at CommitmentPod. And you can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.